On today's show, Indianapolis 500 The Evolution, Buttkicker Gamer 2, F1 Championship Edition, and Top Sim Cars. This show is sponsored by Sim Raceway. Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm your host, Jessica Lopez.
And I'm Darren Ganji.
The Darren
Not
Ganji.
the Darren Ganji.
And today we're going to be reviewing a console game, an older title, the F1 Championship Edition for the PS3.
Yep, and I'm always a little hesitant to put a retro game on the show, but man, we got a ton of requests for this one.
We did get a lot of requests for that. What did you think of it?
It deserves to be on the show, no question about it. Man, I'm trying to... You can start a career as a driver, and I'm trying to get on a team in hard mode, and I'm going to need some serious practice. So this is true, pure simulation. It's not arcade at all. Really cool.
So that shows why a lot of people have requested it.
Yep.
So the guys are going to be putting it on our weighted rating scale. Speaking of which, we've decided to change the name since we've gotten a lot
Shabammy.
of... Shabammy.
That's going to be the name.
That's going to be the name. No, I don't think so. We're changing the name of our weighted rating scale.
I like Shabammy.
We're going to let you, the viewers, decide. You can go to our website, InsideSimRacing.tv.
Yeah, we're not doing Shabammy.
No, we're not.
No.
You can let us know if you have an idea of what to call it, or you can vote on one of our other ideas that we have posted, and we will no longer be calling it the weighted rating scale.
For now, that's what it is.
But I guess for now we can settle with Shabammy for today's show.
Yeah, so we're going to put it on the Shabammy and Indy 500 later. And
all right, well, before we see what the guys thought of this title, let me go ahead and give all of you out there the specs. Developed by Sony Computer Entertainment Studio Liverpool, F1 Championship Edition was released in 2006 for the PS3. All of the official teams, drivers, and tracks from the 2006 FIA Formula One World Championship are included. Race in one of many offline modes, such as a driver trying to land a ride on an F1 team or a quick race at any track. Here's Darren and Sean with the F1 Championship scoring.
all right, here we go with our take on Formula One Championship Edition by Sony, Liverpool Studios, I believe. And let's just go right into physics. First of all, I want to thank the guys, actually before we go into physics, I want to thank the guys that recommended this title. First I thought, oh man, what are we getting ourselves into, but very impressed.
Well, and I want to add to this also, not a lot of Formula One titles to choose from. When this came in for the PlayStation 3, we weren't exactly optimistic going into this.
Yep. Yeah, and Sony owned that license forever. You know, there was no other F1 title out unless you're playing R-Factor, which really wasn't a title, but anyway.
And no license, no official license.
Exactly, but there was nothing on Xbox, still isn't until now Codemasters owns that license. So anyway, let's get rolling on this, go straight to physics, and really good overall physics. For me, though, something was missing. Just I didn't feel as connected as like I do with the PC sims. But that being said, I think it had to do with the fact that they're modeling this for a controller or a gamepad and a wheel and pedal setup.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I mean, ultimately the physics were very good. They took a lot of things into account, like damage and setup changes, but there was always some kind of driving aid always being forced on you, and that gave me that disconnected feeling, and therefore we only gave it, we gave it 11.25 out of 15, which is a very good score, but it could have been better.
Definitely. Which takes us to graphics, and we had to reshoot this whole segment because originally we scored it a 7.5, and that was because we were running on a 24-inch monitor, and it looked really grainy and kind of washed out. 720p, by the way, is the max res, and it was really hard to pick out your breaking points and stuff like that. And then we ran it on the 42-inch, and it definitely was a lot better.
Yeah, definitely.
But still kind of hard to see the breaking points, but incredible effects all the way around.
Yeah.
Lighting effects, deformation effects.
The lighting effects are actually some of the best I've seen.
Yep.
You're coming into the corner and you're blinded by the light, and then when you go back into the darker or away from the light, it takes a moment to adjust. Really good. The rain effects were amazing.
Incredible. Yep.
But the depth of field maybe could use a little help. Gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
And I wonder if that has anything to do with, everything being modeled to scale. Like we were talking to Greg Hill at iRacing, and if they don't model all those buildings and everything to scale, it could throw things off.
Absolutely.
One of the cool graphic effects, you can see like the heat effect, the vapor effect coming off the back of the cars, the exhaust, which is really cool.
Yeah, very good.
Next up, sounds. At first, overall, great sounds. Like going through the tunnels, the sound pitch changes.
Yeah.
All the different cars sound different across the board. But tire squeal, which is so important in the sim, or tire scrub off, is just not happening. I mean, you hear it a little bit, but you really need it more, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's one of those inputs that we need as sim racers to know what the car is doing. Either give me some tire squeal, let me know I'm losing, or give me some real good ground effect sound, let me know I'm getting great traction. Anyway, sounds got an 8.25 out of 10.
Buttkicker factor, man, it rumbled the Buttkicker really nicely.
Very nicely.
Yeah, good sounds overall. Next up, tracks, and that's the big three. We're just gonna kind of blow through the rest of these, but those are the main three when it comes to a title. But next up, tracks. All the tracks from the F1 season are there.
Yep.
Seems like all the, for the most part, elevation changes and everything are correct. Maybe a little bit off in some places, but
good
great tracks.
Good layouts, a few generic billboards or grandstands, but ultimately really nice layouts. I mean, as good as you'd expect, and like you said, all the F1 tracks, and therefore it got an 8.25 in tracks.
Yep. And that leads us to vehicles. Everyone from that season is modeled. All the drivers are there, so you can drive as any driver from that season, which is really cool.
In their cars.
Yep. From the 2006 season. All unique cockpits, which were really neat, really well done.
Yeah, beautiful cars. Got an 8.75. They're beautiful. Not a lot more to say about it.
Yep. And next up, fun factor. It's pretty intense. I mean, it's fun to where, you really have to work to be good.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't just, this is not a boot up title and just, I'll be honest, most console games I can boot up, max out the AI settings, and win within a few races.
Sure.
This is not happening on this title.
No.
You've got to learn, work, and earn it.
Yeah, and some of this goes into fun factor, some presentation, but they're taking you through that whole career mode. You're getting emails, you're getting test offers, you got to go out and really work on the car with your crew chief. All that really adds to the fun factor for me. Anyway, 8.25.
Yep. And next up, force feedback realism. And this is where, one of our viewers, or a few of our viewers mentioned, man, this has great force feedback. The initial load of the title didn't have it, I guess. With a patch they came out with the force feedback, did a great job of implementing it, really get a lot of rumble out of everything that's happening. Again, that disconnected feel, but overall, great effects.
You're going to have to calibrate your mind to the timing of the game when it comes to that steering. But like you said, like when you go over the rumble strips, you really feel it. And I love that when it comes to force feedback. And also the lightning and heaviness of the wheel really comes into play coming in and out of corners. So in force feedback, we gave it an 8.
And that leads us to our 5-point categories, and we're running out of time here, so we're going to get through these really quick. AI, gave it a 4 out of 5.
Very good AI. I had trouble on one track, I don't remember which one, but they literally did.
What was that?
That was our timer telling us to hurry up. But anyway, AI are very good. I did have trouble at one track where they came to a stop, but ultimately some really good competition.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't, on all the stuff I ran, I didn't come across that problem, but I saw Sean come across it, and it definitely happened. Next up, multiplayer. Really non-existent. I mean, you can land race, which we couldn't do. We only have one PS3. So I assume it's pretty cool. I heard that the prediction code was a little off, and then the servers are down for online, so there's no online capability right now.
Tough to score on that one. We only gave it a 1.5 out of 5.
Yep. Next up, damage. 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Some of the best we've seen on a console or overall across the board.
Yeah, and at first, I didn't think it had damage. I thought it was being very, very forgiving. Once we got going in the career where in race mode, it was like, whoa, any mistake and race over, just like a real F1 race.
Yep. 4 out of 5 we gave it, and then that leads to presentation. Really cool presentation. Really has a good Formula One feel.
Yeah.
Graphics are nicely done. All that Formula One look to them.
Menus are easy to find your way through. You're not doing a whole lot of searching, wondering how to find a race.
Yep. Cool intro movie.
Yeah.
4.5. What did we give it?
4.25 out of 5.
I gave it a 4.5. So I gave it a 4. And then the last category, cost. I paid $15 for this thing. I got it, I think, through Walmart, shipped to store.
Gotta love old games.
Yeah. 4.5 out of 5.
Can't beat it.
Must have for PS3 library. If you don't own it, get it. eBay, Amazon, see if they have it in the local bargain bin, but definitely a must-have for your sim racing library if you own a PS3.
So overall, it gets a 79.5, which is probably a good 10 points higher than I thought it would have gotten.
Yep, same here.
Surprised the heck out of me. And on the Sim Index, that gave it a 58.5. So this title did very well. This is one of the best Formula One racing titles you're going to get, regardless of platform.
Probably ever made.
Yeah.
They did a really good job on it.
Yeah.
Kudos to those guys, and wonder what happened to that team. I'm sure they're spread out all over the world now.
Probably making other Sims we play.
Yep, that's going to do it. F1 CE, or Formula One Championship Edition by Sony for the PlayStation 3 only. Hope you enjoyed our review of it.
Next up, our top sim cars segment, and today we're going to be putting one car on the list that has 3 different variations, and it's the Caterham.
That's right, and we're going to be doing the R Factor, GTR Evolution, and Live for Speed versions, and so it's going to be Battle of the Caterhams.
The Battle of the Caterhams, a car that we have gotten...
Caterhams?
Caterham.
Caterhams.
Sorry.
That's okay.
A car that we've gotten a lot of requests for by a lot of our viewers. So here we go, the Battle of the Caterhams on our top simulation cars of all time, which is sponsored by SimRaceway.com.
Home of the one-click install.
The origin of the Caterham 7 dates back to 1957 with the Lotus 7 designed by Colin Chapman. Lotus actually produced these cars all the way until 1972, and when finished with the design, the rights were sold to Caterham to further produce the cars. Regardless of the badging, the 7 has always used the philosophy of low to medium horsepower matched with very low weight to be the ultimate club racer. The cars are built with tubular chassis and sheet aluminum bodywork, sometimes outfitted with carbon or fiber pieces as well. You will not find air conditioning, ABS, or any other amenities in this little race car, as they are truly built for the track. Throughout its history, the cars have been powered mostly by Ford 4-cylinder engines, with the most recent variations putting out as many as 263 horses. Caterham also revolutionized the kit car world by making this car available in kit form, resulting in Caterham being powered by just about every combination of engine imaginable. Here's to the Caterham 7 and its 50-plus years of heritage. So something completely new for Top Sim cars, a little tribute to the Caterham.
Caterham. We'd like to apologize, especially to our UK viewers. We butchered that name. And to all of you out there that think it's Caterham, it's not.
All my life I thought so.
And it kind of looks like it, and then I started really thinking about the spelling. C-A-T-E spells Kate.
Yes.
So we tuned into an episode of Top Gear on YouTube yesterday and watched our mentors.
Our favorite show.
Yeah, Richard Hammond was doing a thing on the Caterham, and clearly he pronounces it Caterham, and that's the name of a city actually in
England.
Yeah. In England. But yeah, we apologize to our UK viewers out there. So let's go with our Battle of the Caterhams.
There you go.
R Factor, Live for Speed, GTR Evolution.
There you go.
And all really cool versions.
Yeah, and the Live for Speed and the Simbin version are obviously from the creator, the game creator themselves, whereas Major Parts Qubits is the modder who made the R Factor variant.
And made a really, really killer version. Speaking of the variants, the R Factor version we used was the R500. The Major Parts Qubits guys did about, what, I don't know, 5, 6 different versions.
Yeah, every version I could think of, that's for sure.
That one was upgradable. You could change the rims, roll bars, windscreens, all sorts of stuff, which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
We used the R500 model, which was recommended in our forums.
Yeah, and then in the Simbin, they had 3 different variations to choose from. Not a lot you could do to change them once you picked one. And then for Live for Speed, unfortunately, it's not even a Caterham. It's really sort of a copy of something, maybe a kit car version of a Caterham.
So
correct.
3 different models. We used the lowest horsepower one, which was right around 200 horsepower. So they're all around the same horsepower-wise.
And 200 doesn't sound like a lot, but the thing about this car is it weighs nothing. This is a rocket ship.
So let's just get to the scores. We've put about 5 minutes onto this to talk about these cars. So let's start with the physics. I'm just going to tell you which one was the best in each category. I'm going to get through these pretty quick. Physics, the Live for Speed version just squeaked out the others with a 17.8.
Right.
R Factor in second with a 17.3, and Evo bringing it through with a 16.8.
And again, very close, but again, the Live for Speed one just had a little bit more feel to it that was good.
Yeah, where the rubber meets the road just was a little bit more distinguishable.
Yeah. Now, in sounds, it was a little bit different. You had the Simbin one with just some really good sounds. You had the R Factor variation with some very good sounds, but the Live for Speed one...
Very weak. And we checked, when we watched the Top Gear episode, we also watched a bunch of other videos on YouTube to make a direct comparison, and those two were pretty dang close.
Yeah.
R Factor and Evo. Live for Speed definitely missed the mark. The winner in the three, Evo with a 13.
Yeah.
Next up, models. Man, that R Factor one, Major Parts Qubits, you guys got the best model in our opinions. The Evo one was awesome, though, too.
Again, they were very, very close, but the R Factor variation just had so much more finish, I think, is really what put it over the top for me.
Both beautiful models, though. And then the Live for Speed wasn't, it was, like Sean said, it was a kit car. It wasn't a dead-on version.
Yeah, and you scored a little better, and I think they did a very good car model, but we are talking Caterhams here, so I scored it a little harshly.
9.5, R Factor won that one. Next up, cockpits. 9 is the winner with Evo.
Yeah.
Beautiful cockpits, but you gotta tilt your head down because you're using that helmet cam, which is awesome. Winner though there is, like we said, Evo second, R Factor with a 8 3/4. The Live for Speed version got a 7.
Next up is Fun Factor, and again, a lot of the scores already added up, kind of taking you or implying where we're going with the Fun Factor. The Evo and the R Factor were so closely matched. But for me, the Evo, I think just that helmet cam, being able to see the hands, it scored the 8.75, which is the best in the category. R Factor right behind it with an 8.5, and Live for Speed with a 7.5. Next up is Immersive, and again, it comes down to a lot of those things combined. But for us, the GTR Evo scored a 9, which leads that category.
Yep.
R Factor got an 8.5, and Live for Speed an 8.
Yeah, in all three, I was pretty immersed. I mean, I felt like I was driving a Caterham.
Definitely.
It was, not that I've ever driven one, but I imagine based on watching those Top Gear episodes and the other stuff, that's how they felt.
And the view's unique. I mean, you can see all the way over the front end. You can see the front wheels, which is a little odd in a car like that.
Yeah, pretty cool, though.
So, force feedback.
All right, that was...
They all won.
They all won.
8.5. All had different types of... I mean, they all felt different, but all felt really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt connected.
Live for Speed has always been great with it. Same with Evo. The R Factor actually used the real feel,
which supposedly was built for this car, so amazing. You got to use real feel. By the way, want to mention really quick, you got to use real feel if you're testing any of these cars in R Factor. We use it on every single one.
Yep.
R Factor doesn't feel the same without it.
Absolutely.
Next up, damage.
This is a funny one.
It is. Evo takes the top honors there with a 4. R Factor next with a 3 1/4. Really hard to rip the front wheels off an R Factor. And then the funny one was in Live for Speed. 2 3/4. Man, I banged that thing into the wall 20 times to try to rip the wheels off. And I'm like, what the heck? It's still driving.
It's still driving.
Go to watch the replay, and the wheelbase shrunk by like a wheel.
I think you had it down to about a 5-foot wheelbase.
It was pretty funny.
It did look funny, and it drove funny.
So, yeah, top honors was Evo there with a 4, which leads us to skins. By far the best, coolest skins were for R Factor. Gave them a 5, the Major Parts guys.
They have so many different versions of the Caterham, as well as paint schemes for all those versions, and just endless amount of paint schemes to choose from.
Evo versions were cool, but were just kind of generic, which was probably more authentic, but just a generic blue, red, green, but all looked really cool. Last up, default set. Tied R Factor and Evo.
Yeah, both of them drove real well.
Why don't you tell them your experience with the Live for Speed?
The Live for Speed, unfortunately, I thought it was the most unbearable car ever, and then Darren suggested I tried the race setup instead of the default setup, and all of a sudden the car drove real nice, just like the other Caterhams, actually. With the default set, though, it wasn't very desirable.
No. So top honors goes to Evo and R Factor again with a 4, and Live for Speed got a 3.
There you go.
So the winner
The winner
of our Battle of the Caterhams
is actually the GTR Evo. The Simbin just edged out the R Factor version. 85.8 was the overall score for Simbin, the GTR Evo Caterham.
It puts it 11th overall on our list, and 12th was the R Factor version with 85.5.
12th place overall.
Yep, right there, 12th place overall, and just 3/10 of a point below the Evo version. And then bringing up the rear, unfortunately, is the Live for Speed version.
A little bit left in the dust with only 74 points, scoring 28th overall. And again, I want to apologize to Live for Speed here. This wasn't quite fair. We had the suggestion of putting all the Caterhams against each other. This was not a great model of the Caterham. So when you look at pictures or the website for Caterham and look at the Live for Speed, there's no comparing the cockpit or the car model, and that really hurt him pretty badly here.
Yep. So that's going to do it. Battle of the Caterhams for top sim cars of all time. By the way, the Live for Speed came 28th on our list, which now is close to 30 cars, or 30 cars.
A little over, I think.
So we've adjusted our lists. Now we've got them all on there. We had a few cars missing. So
it's all fixed.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. That's going to do it for this segment of top simulation cars of all time.
Now it's time for us to do some butt kicking.
That's right.
We got the Buttkicker Gamer 2 here.
Yep.
And what this is, for those of you who don't know out there, it's a device that you can attach to your chair or your rig or wherever you're doing your sim racing and get a further experience by feeling the vibration in your vehicle.
Absolutely. And Sean had mentioned, we had reviewed the Gamer 1. We've reviewed all of them, actually. This is the 4th version of a butt kicker we've reviewed. But Sean had mentioned it's like turning your sim off without having a butt kicker. And if you use one and get used to having one, it is like that. It's like you're driving numb. It adds some extra sensation.
Some
extra sensation to really immerse you. So it definitely makes a difference.
And Sean also mentioned with the earlier version of this, he had two
blow up. Two of the amps blew up on him.
So we'll see how this one holds up. The guys put it through their new 10-point scale. So let's go ahead and see what they thought.
Let's do it. All right, here we are doing the Buttkicker Gamer 2. And it's the model number BKA 130-C. And let's talk about the major differences first off. The amp.
The amp is completely different.
Yeah. Any Buttkicker Gamer 1 owner, not any, but I would say a good portion of them had problems with these things blowing up.
They blew up.
Not these. The old red alien-looking things.
The original Gamer, which was an odd-looking amp, had some buttons on the front and back, so you actually needed to access both sides in order to use it right. It was kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah, pain in the butt kicker. But this new amp, they have assured us that they've learned from their previous problems and now implemented new technology into this baby.
And it's very clean, very small.
Yep.
And it actually works with a remote control. It's not wireless like the upper end versions. It's wired, but is really cool because you now have the power switch and you can adjust the intensity, they call it. It's really the volume knob, I suppose.
Yeah, which is much needed.
Yeah.
Especially switching from sim to sim. Like iRacing, you got to crank the volume up. Some of the other ones,
you better turn it down quick.
Yeah. So let's just go to the pros and cons.
I think one of the best pros for me is it will really upset your neighbors and the people you live with.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and let's go with one of the cons really quick. You better attach your keyboard and mice to your rig because they're going to go flopping off. We can pretty much guarantee that. The mouse for sure. Keyboard, it might stay steady, but man, almost every rig I have with a butt kicker, which is every rig now, my mouse shakes off unless I've got it like in a well or something, but that's the cons. Let's talk about the true pros and cons of these.
If you have any nuts or bolts that are loose, it'll find those as well.
Yeah, it'll rattle them loose. I'm going to say this is a must-have for any sim racer.
I agree.
$130 you can get this for, and you can clamp it to a chair.
This is actually unchanged from the Gamer, and it has the same clamp.
Same transducer, I guess you could call it, or silent subwoofer. For those of you who are not sure what this is, basically this just rumbles without the sound. You can actually hear sound coming from it, but it's just like a rumble pack.
Yeah.
A big giant one. Another rig that it's great, and we're going to show you guys some footage of, is the Obatu to attach to because of the small tubing.
Yeah, it clamped right to that. Any kind of tubing, just like on the post on a desk chair, which is the way it's designed for, But any tubing in that range of size, you can clamp it to pretty easily.
Which goes to one of the few cons of this thing is that that's all it's going to clamp to for the most part. Otherwise, you're going to have to figure out some kind of, a rig.
Yeah, or making a bracket just to get to here, and then that's sort of...
This did not fit on the hot seat sim we have here, so we're going to have to figure out some kind of way to attach it. But
we will.
Yep, we definitely will. So that's definitely one of the cons. And the other con, I overheated this thing within the first couple minutes. Mm-hmm. And it was my own fault for not reading the instructions.
Yeah.
These guys have supplied a detailed frequency setting. If you look on the amp here, we're going to give you a close-up again too, but there's a frequency dial, a high cutoff, and a low filter cutoff. Use the recommended settings for gamers, which is 40 on the frequency cutoff, and then I'm not sure, I don't have the buttons, but just read the instructions. I have not had it overheat since I've used the recommended settings.
And those other settings are for the other applications, which is movies. You can use it with your movies and any other kind of games as well.
Speaking of other games, we've used it now with the PS3, Xbox 360, PC. I haven't tried it with the Wii. I want to, though, because I'm a big Rock Band and Guitar Hero. I want to try it with the bass.
Which I believe is why they actually invented this thing to begin with, was to give bass guitarists feedback.
Yep, so, and drummers, too, for the bass drum.
Yeah, put that right to the drumming throne.
So, yeah, I want to, we've tried it with all of them. I got to tell you, one of my new favorite games is Uncharted 2, and Sean was laughing at me. He was watching me over the show when I first tried the demo. It scared the life out of me. Between the butt kicker and what happened on the screen, I almost had a heart attack. Yeah. So Uncharted 2 was great. Forza 3, great sound effects for that. And this game we just tried, F1 Championship Edition, man.
Yeah.
Great rumble effects.
Essentially, all it's going to take is access to the audio. So if you got a red-white channel and you can access it, you're going to be able to use the butt kicker on it.
And again, use the recommended settings for that. They give you detailed on and all the connections, all the wires and everything to get this thing connected.
Yeah.
Again, it's about $130, not including shipping and handling.
Which is really affordable when you consider what you get out of it. I mean, this is as good as a great sound system in a lot of ways.
I like using them with a set of headphones. You know, butt kicker with a good set of headphones, you really can't beat it.
It's the ultimate.
Heck, you add a 5, 6, 7 speaker system and a butt kicker, and it's really intense.
Yeah, and
talking about bugging the neighbors.
And I'm going to go back to something that I've always said about these, but if you are used to a butt kicker and somebody turned it off, or you forgot to turn it on, or someone stole it from you.
What happened to my sim?
What happened to my sim? You'd be missing another one of your controls, I swear.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for our take on the new Buttkicker Gamer 2. We're going to score it on our new Rev scale.
Yeah.
9 out of 10.
Easily 9 out of 10.
Yeah, we almost scored it a 10 out of 10, but we thought, you know what, because of the overheating issues and the ability to not clamp it to larger rigs. And they recommend that this is for a chair or a smaller rig. They weren't sure how it was going to work on the Obatu, but I'll tell you right now, if you own an Obatu, you got to get one of these.
Yeah.
It is such a quick install. You'll see how we have it installed. Get it. I mean, it is worth attaching to your rig. It works with all the sims. 9 out of 10. You can get it right at our website, InsideSimRacing.tv. Front page, we got a banner there, linking right to Buttkicker. So get your Buttkicker Gamer now. And this is not an infomercial. I stand by this thing 100%. I would recommend this to any sim racer.
Every sim we have, every rig we have has a Buttkicker.
Sim racer or gamer.
Yeah.
That's going to do it. Buttkicker Gamer 2.
It's about that time to take you into our top story for today, sponsored by SimRaceway.com. And we got another console title for you today.
That's right.
The Indianapolis 500 Evolution.
For the 360.
For the Xbox 360, and we're excited to have that title.
We are.
Came out about 6 months ago, back in August, and we're going to take you back to the 1960s as you race solo or online against 7 other drivers on historic tracks from the era, including the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Riverside, Langhorne, Hanford, Milwaukee Mile, and more. Watch your collection of trophies grow as you defeat rivals, win races, and become the champion of the speedways. Drive over 360 cars with vintage sponsors that define the golden era of racing.
That was very nicely worded.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did.
And that's what this title has to offer, and actually we have a signed picture here.
Yeah, Bobby Enser, who's actually in the game. I'd like to thank Warren Desper gave us that. If you guys are wondering who that is, that's an actual picture of Bobby Enser. He signed it for us. So if you're watching, Bobby, thank you for that.
And he is in the game, and we're going to see what Darren and Sean thought of the game and how it held up in our Shabami, or formerly known as the weighted rating scale. That's probably the last time you'll hear it. Let's see what the guys thought.
So I was so excited when we got this package, opened it up, found 2 copies of Indy 500 Evolution. I mean, this takes me back to my childhood.
Me too, man.
Yeah, Memorial Day weekends, which comes right after my birthday, our birthday.
This was the race I looked most forward to every year, and it's starting to get a little bit better, you know, compared to the way it used to. But man, Indy, this is where I started my sim racing career really too, with Indianapolis 500, the sim.
Absolutely, and you're talking Andretti's, Unzers, Yarboroughs. I mean, all the names, the cars, everything.
And they're all in here.
So again, I was so hopeful, and it's on the Xbox, which I've been doing a lot more racing on and loving it. So with all that anticipation and playing it, I don't know, want to just get right to physics?
Yeah, let's just go right to it, man.
So the most important thing to us, physics. I was just let down right off the bat. I mean, there's no feel.
And it goes right to the force feedback, too. I mean, we're not going to jump all over on our scoring, but we give it a 1 in force feedback because there isn't any. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Guys, Destineer. By the way, Destineer Games is who's the one that...
With Brain in a Jar.
And Brain in a Jar, yeah, is who this came out with. Now, this is originally on the Wii, too. I believe this is just a direct port, which is probably why there's no force feedback in this.
Right, right.
So, which is a big bummer.
Yeah, so anyway, there's just nothing that really makes it really feel like a driving game. I mean, we tried it on the Xbox wheel and on the Fanatic wheel, and there was a little bit of rumble on the Xbox.
And even on the gamepad.
And the gamepad I pretty much could drive just as well with. So anyway, out of 15, it only scored an 8 in physics.
Yep. Next up, graphics. We're not going to go through all the scores. We're only going to give this title about 5 minutes of airtime here.
Certainly cover the big 3 topics, though.
Yeah, it is a new title. It was released back in August or September, like Jessica said, but we're not going to go too in depth on this. It honestly, I hate to say it, it just doesn't deserve it. We were, like Sean said, we were so excited this came, and we, wanted to multiplayer race it, but.
And in a lot of the scores, I think I kind of personally might have hammered them a bit. I mean, I stand behind my scores, but again, being that let down by it, it definitely...
Yeah, well, but our scores are, it's their combined scores, but this is what it is. Yeah. So, next up, graphics.
Yeah, it started to look good. I mean, but then things start glitching.
Frame rate issues.
Yeah, and the cockpits were kind of cool. I mean, it felt authentic, but again, everything just sort of stuttered. A little bit of haze, just nothing spectacular about it.
No polish in like even the fonts of the text over the drivers' names was just kind of cheesy.
Yep, I agree with you there.
6.5 out of 10 we gave it in graphics.
And then that takes us to sounds, which again, much like the graphics, it starts off to sound good. The car sounds are kind of cool, but then there's really not a lot of extra sounds. There's nothing super in the crashes about it. The tire sounds aren't great. The off-road sounds aren't great.
Yeah.
And then it cuts out. So just like the graphics, it's doing a lot of that. So it also got a 6.5 in graphics.
6.5 out of 10. Yep, out of sounds. And which goes to tracks. Not as many as we'd hoped for. Riverside's there, which is cool. I've actually driven Riverside back when I was, I don't know, almost 20 years ago. Man, that's dating myself. Not that I really care. But anyway, drove it in an old Formula Ford a long time ago. So it's cool to see Riverside back there again in a sim. And
2 variations.
I wouldn't really call this a sim.
No. Anyway, so tracks, it got a 6 3/4.
Let's just start rolling through these because we're running out of.
All right. Well, vehicles.
No offense to this title, but we're running out of time for you there, buddy.
This maybe is my favorite thing about the game, the vehicles.
Yeah, this is probably one of the only redeeming qualities of it is the vehicles and the drivers that you get to race with or as and against.
Yeah.
Bobby Unser, AJ Foyt, Al Unser, Mario Andretti. I mean, just some of the greats.
Hale and his brother. Father Yarborough.
Leroy Yarborough, might be his brother. But 8.5 out of 10 we gave car models, and I think that's where it deserved it.
Absolutely.
And I want to just blow through the rest of the scores here really quick.
All right, so we got what? Fun factor at 5, force feedback.
Out
you
of
already
10,
mentioned.
yeah.
1.
Yeah. Back to fun factor. Really not that fun. We really didn't have much fun. I honestly didn't put much time into this title. This was Sean's lead, and
I tried and tried and tried. Again, the AI, we gave it a 2.5. The AI, they'll challenge you a little bit, but then they just do typical stupid stuff. They slam on the brakes when you nudge them. They just cause big pileups, and then everybody slams into it. 2.5 out of 5.
One of the other redeeming qualities, damage. was actually pretty cool.
Yes.
You can really bang the car up at flames. I mean, you can really just rip the crap
wheels
out
off,
of the car.
Smoke flying, flames flying, like you said. We gave it a 3 out of 5 in damage.
Presentation, 2.5 out of 5.
You got the cool voice.
Bob Jenkins,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool to have. I mean, that bumped it up almost at least half a point to a point there.
Sure. And there are some challenges you can go. I mean, like the Parnelli Jones, where you in a 2-year-old car set the pole in Indy. You go after that challenge. They got a few of those that are kind of cool in the presentation. So 2.5 out of 5. I don't think we covered multiplayer. There was no one out there. I tried at night, primetime West Coast, Sunday night. Nobody.
Sean set up a server this morning for us to check out multiplayer, and I just joined a quick match. He was the only match there.
And I had left it there for like half an hour, maybe no one else joined. So
yeah, last night, same thing.
We only gave it a 2 out of 5 in multiplayer, and that takes it to cost, which 2 out of 5. I mean, it just wasn't very spectacular. It's only $19.99. I've seen it online, so it is very cheap, but you're not getting a lot for your money, but 2 out of 5.
So overall, what do we give it?
54.3.
That's not very good.
No.
I think that's almost lowest on our scale, isn't it?
It is. This is definitely, I mean, wait till it is gotten for free. $4.99 might be a good price when it drops to that. Maybe.
I'd say maybe good for a rental if you just want, as you're getting pumped up for the Indy 500 coming up, it's good for that. Otherwise, don't waste your money on it. I hate to say it.
If you're playing at home and you only use a joypad, and you have youngsters or somebody who's not so great at sim racing, you want to let them play a driving game, maybe there's its redeeming quality too, especially an Indy buff.
And get a little history in the same time. Sim index score at a 75 possible, 42.25.
Ooh.
So that's going to do it for this title, isn't it?
Yeah, that definitely does it for this one. I think we're all done with this one.
Yeah, Indianapolis 500, The Evolution, 61 through 71 by Destineer.
And Brain in a Jar.
Yep. And, man, polish this up, add some force feedback, and this could be a really cool title.
It could. This could have been great. If it was, I'd love to have seen a second version, maybe 83, up to 83 years or something. I mean, they could have done it.
It's a great license to have. Too bad it's not being put to use properly.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it.
That's going to wrap up another fun-filled episode of Inside Sim Racing.
Yeah, action-packed. We had lots of stuff.
We did have lots of stuff. A lot of requested stuff from our viewers. So we do.
Every one of those items were requested.
Yes, they were. So we are listening to your requests and your comments. You can still keep up to date and connect with us on our website at InsideSimRacing.tv. Visit our forums.
Yep.
And
subscribe on YouTube. Also, can keep in touch with us there. We mentioned in the last show you can try to comment, but you got to be a friend. You can add any comments you want, but it's going to be moderated, so don't even bother posting the crap.
That's right. Thank you guys for joining us. Until next time, I'm Jessica Lopez.
Darren Ganji.
Checkered flag is out, and so are we.